Have you ever doubted yourself on the job? Felt like a fraud? Think, I'm not smart enough to be here. I have no right to be here. If so, this episode's for you. I'll tell you how to 1. Recognize the self-esteem crushing imposter syndrome, and 2. Give you tools to help ease your doubts and practice being kind to your mind. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes like this. Thanks for being here. All right, the imposter syndrome. Have you ever gotten that dream job, maybe after graduating college, or gotten a promotion at work? Amazing, congratulations. But then the self-doubt kicks in, and you're thinking, this is a mistake. I don't deserve to be here. That feeling of self-doubt, of inadequacy, is the imposter syndrome. It's when a person can't internalize and accept their success, and they think their success is due to luck or sympathy rather than ability, and a fear that others will eventually figure them out as a phony. Sound familiar? Well, you're not alone. In this episode, I'll be essentially reading through this article from the American Psychological Association and written by Kristen Weir. I'll put the link to the article in the description in case you want to reference it or if you just want to follow along. This imposter syndrome was first mentioned in the 1970s by psychologists Eames and Clance. This phenomenon is a very real and common feeling and is often accompanied by anxiety and depression. Most people are said to suffer in silence out of fear that they're going to be found out and exposed as a true fraud. Does this speak to you? Let me know in the comments if you've ever felt like this. Remember, I want this to be a safe place for us, so go ahead and just dump those feelings into the comments or just put it out into the universe. We're gonna just let it go. Okay, back to the article. The underlying foundation of the syndrome is this pressure to achieve. It's more commonly found when a person grows up in families that place a big emphasis on achievement and is made worse in the society where we're pressured to achieve more, right? More fancy things, more letters after our name to show that we've made it, that we're worth something. Eames says there can be a lot of confusion between approval and love and your self-worth. So your self-worth becomes dependent on what you achieve and showing how capable you are. The article goes on to show how this experience is more common in minorities and really just being different in any form than the majority of your peers. I'll read to you this specific paragraph in the article. Frederick Hives is a fourth-year doctorate of psychology candidate at JFK University in Pleasant Hill. Hives has struggled with imposter feelings throughout grad school and says he often feels like he's progressed not on his own merits, but due to sympathy from others. As an African American student, Hives says, I was taught I need to work twice as hard to be half as good. While this instills a good goal-oriented approach, it also keeps me feeling as though my efforts will never be good enough. Sad, right? Okay, so most people experience self-doubt when facing new challenges, but someone with imposter syndrome has an all-encompassing fear of being found out to not have what it takes, even if they experience outward signs of success, getting the grades, getting this new job at this prestigious place, acing a test. People with this syndrome still feel like they're not worthy. This imposter syndrome and perfectionism go hand in hand. So-called imposters think that they have to do everything perfectly and rarely ask for help. This perfectionism can lead to two typical responses. So they might procrastinate putting off a task because they're worried they're not going to do it to these perfect standards, or the person will over-prepare, spending way too much time than necessary on a task. In the end, this imposter syndrome becomes a cycle. So you're so afraid of becoming a fraud, you put yourself through incredible stress to do the job perfectly. And then when you succeed, you think that all of this anxiety and effort paid off. Eventually, you develop almost superstitious beliefs that the only way to achieve success is to put yourself through hell. Okay, so let me bring this all home. I can speak to all of this. This imposter syndrome is like my life. Okay, so I'm Asian, right? My parents are from the Philippines. I looked up the definition of a tiger mom before, doing this. And so a tiger mom is one that is strict or demanding and who pushes her child to high levels of achievement. So yeah, I would say that my mom was definitely on the tiger spectrum. When I showed my mom my first report card as a freshman in high school, so it was all A's and one B. You know what she said to me? She was like, "Oh, so this means you can't be valedictorian, huh?" Soul crushing. Definitely. But don't worry, mom, even though she's passed on and she's, done with this world, she and I have a good relationship now. I've worked it out and I get her, so we're okay. But my whole life has been achieve, achieve, achieve. When I finally landed my dream job at Stanford, it was literally one of the most stressful experiences in my life. I was surrounded by all these amazing and smart people, and this environment was just so foreign to me. I had come with enough oncology experience to land the job, but this unit was next level, and I just felt so out of place. And I definitely had a lot of self-doubt, thinking if I can do this, right? So I knew then that I had to secure a legit therapist because I had this self-awareness of this stress that I would be under and that I would impose on myself, right, to do well and succeed. So I know that I'm prone to this syndrome, but I witness it a lot on the unit, right? Nurses are very independent people in general. And you have to remember that the job is hard. There are a million things to do at one time. And it's not uncommon to feel like you're drowning. So I'll see that sometimes. Like someone's drowning at this moment, I'm okay. And they're still not asking for help. So I'm here, I'm chilling, I'm okay, right? Thankfully. And they still aren't asking for help. So I'll be like, yo, let me help you, Like tomorrow I might be drowning and I'd want you to do the same for me. So, like I said, a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of nurses struggle with this just because of the job. And like my coworker was saying the other day that she definitely struggled with this, especially when she was new and whenever she goes to a new unit where she feels like she has to prove herself, right? Prove herself worthy to be here. So, yeah, this is a common thing. I already talked about some ways I've dealt with imposter syndrome, but let's go back to the article and talk about the ways that they say to deal with this syndrome. So the first thing is to talk to your mentors. Talk to someone who is experienced, supportive, and encouraging. They should be able to help you realize that your feelings are both normal and then also irrational, right? I'm sure there's someone in your life that's always believed in you. Let's take this time to give them thanks. Give them a shout out in the comments. Better yet, if they're still alive, call them, message them, tell them how they've impacted your life. When my therapist told me to do this years ago, and I reached out to my mentor, she had no idea that she had this amazing impact on my life. So yeah, let them know. They'll be happy to hear from you. The next tip is the flip side of talking to a mentor is to recognize your own expertise. There's a lot that you know, and you can teach this knowledge and wisdom to other people. That's one of the reasons why I'm here with you now, to teach the things that I've learned, and hopefully it'll help you. And it also gives me confidence knowing that I'm not a fraud, that there's things that I know and that I can help out. Okay, the next few tips are to remember what you do well, realize that nobody's perfect, and then slowly change your thinking and change those patterns that you've had. So Eames recommends writing down things that you're truly good at and then areas that you might need more work in. So this will help you recognize what you're doing well so you don't have to worry about those things so much. And so you can focus on things that you actually can improve on or that you need improvement in. But you also have to change the way you think about your achievements. You have to remember that your self-worth is not tied into your achievements. So you can start breaking down that superstitious cycle of stressing yourself out to do something perfectly when good enough will do. So this is kind of like me right now. Like I can refilm and edit until my eyeballs fall out. But I just have to remember to set myself like a time and then that's it, right? Like, okay, from this time to this time, I will do this task and then that will be it. I will just let it go after that because it will be good enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, no joke, I didn't show anybody my premiere, my first YouTube video, before I released it because I couldn't handle like getting feedback and then agonizing over making adjustments. It's like, you know what? This is good enough. I'm not trying to win an Academy Award, right? This is fine. Just let it go. And then it's fine. It is okay. It's good enough. So, yeah. Eames also recommends taking time to acknowledge the work you've done and to celebrate. Now I celebrate all the things, right? You work so hard. That needs to be acknowledged and celebrated. So I know that I'm like your new BFF, but I want you to be your own BFF. Because, I mean, you're with yourself all the time. You might as well make that relationship pleasant. The last thing the article says to do to battle the imposter syndrome is to talk to someone who can help. I cannot stress enough the importance of finding a good therapist. I'm actually like 99.9% sure that's going to be the topic for my next episode, so stay tuned. In conclusion, I really felt the need for this episode because it's so personal to me and it's something that I still struggle with. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I see it all the time. People struggle with this imposter syndrome frequently. It's very common. And so I just wanted to bring some awareness to it and hope that it'll help you and remind you that you don't have to be so anxious and fearful all the time. So that's it for now. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications, follow my Instagram, the link is in the description, and let's meet again in the comments. Let me know what you thought and let me know what you want to hear from me in the future. If you too struggle with this imposter syndrome with self-doubt, I want to remind you that you're doing the best that you can and that you are more than enough. Remember this, to keep practicing being kind to your mind. I'll see you next time.